active is an understatement for the weather pattern. And now we have some new developments here that I want to make sure you are fully aware of. We were thinking yesterday that the bulk of this would come into far northern Arkansas tonight, and now it may be a little bit further towards the south. One computer model is developing big thunderstorms in western Arkansas as early as late afternoon. I'm not following that model just yet, but I am keeping that in mind and seeing what it does with new runs. But I got a ton of information here I want to share with you. The severe weather outlooks, the forecast track, the timing, the threats, all that. But I also want to emphasize, too, that I think flash flooding is a concern. And I think a flood watch is going to be issued at some point. I also think we're going to deal with severe thunderstorm watches. I think we're going to deal with tornado watches. This is active. As I said, that is the understatement. All right, let's start off with today. The risk for severe weather, if you remember, was far northwest Arkansas yesterday for today, and see how it has expanded to include the northwestern one half of the state. It's a low risk, but it's there. It increases on Wednesday. This is of no surprise, but the question is, with Wednesday's risk, will it be further south? And I'll explain in just a little bit. But northern Arkansas late tonight, sure. But anyway, for Wednesday, this whole area is generally under a low to medium risk. I'll explain some of the specifics with that in just a second. Thursday, especially western and central Arkansas, the risk for severe weather. Now to the newest version of Forecast Track. And in the motion and stopping this at 11 o'clock, I've seen models which show earlier in the day, late this afternoon, thunderstorms further towards the south, but this one has been fairly consistent. And these thunderstorms could be strong, potentially severe, low risk for severe thunderstorms 11 o'clock. Then they get into the metro probably after midnight, according to this particular computer model. There's 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's at night. While the severe weather threat is not overwhelming, you need a way to get warnings. The main threat would be wind and hail. Can't rule out an isolated tornado. So here's what's interesting, and this is where it gets very complicated. So that dies out, but if you look here, this is just a computer model. It's kind of showing a boundary getting laid up right in here. All right, that's the leading edge of those decaying thunderstorms from tonight. Where that ends up is a fantastic question, and we just do not know. But it is extraordinarily important to know and to follow and to track, because that's where the most intense thunderstorm action will occur with the next round and south. So you already see that, the computer model picking up on that next round. So this is Wednesday at 7 o'clock in the morning. This area of the state, according to this one computer model, the severe risk would be a little bit lower. Remember that medium risk? It'd be a little bit lower here, but it would be greater along and south of this line. Again, that line could be further north. So I'm just showing you a model interpretation and the challenges that go with this forecast. So you sort of make out that line right there. Then you see the thunderstorms developing out in Oklahoma, 7 o'clock Wednesday morning. Watch this. See that? So this is a high wind potential and maybe even a tornado potential. This is at noon, much earlier than some of the previous computer models indicated. So this is at noon on Wednesday. So there's that boundary. So it's along and south of that boundary that you have the risk for severe thunderstorms. But again, I caution you, what if it's further north? Then a greater portion of the state would have that severe threat. So this cluster of thunderstorms, that moves through, lays down another boundary, and by late in the afternoon, here comes another cluster of thunderstorms. So it lays down the boundary with the most intense storms right in here, okay? This is most likely just rain, rumbles of thunder, and according to this model, not severe. But remember, models are not perfect. I'm just showing you the interpretation of a computer model. So that's heavy rain, and then you get more rain coming up on Thursday morning. So just round after round after round, according to the newest data. So let's look at how much rain. This is a short-range computer model. Do not take these amounts literally. But this is going through, very important, on through 4 o'clock Thursday morning. Don't take these amounts literally because they're going to change. But just notice where it's pinpointing the heaviest rainfall amounts. Okay? That's the graph. It's an IBM model. It's not a government model. It does pretty good from time to time. This is the European, so don't take these amounts literally, but notice where it's showing the heaviest amounts. Now let's go to the GFS. Notice where it's showing the heaviest amounts. This is, oh, by the way, I need to also mention this. With the European and the GFS that I just showed you, this goes out to Saturday. That first one I showed you, the graph, just goes out to Thursday. But I'm showing you cumulative through Saturday. So, but it's basically the same, showing where the heaviest amounts are going to be. This is a forecast for 7 days. So you see the consensus with the modeling is going to be in this general area of the state for the heaviest rainfall amounts. Right in here, the central, I don't know what you'd call that, at least the 1/3 of the state. And that corresponds to the charts here of 3, 5, 6 inches of rainfall over the course of 7 days. All right, so now you see the potentials and you see how difficult this pattern is when it comes to forecasting each one of these waves of thunderstorms. Just to recap, the changes, the slight risk, the low risk for severe weather that was for Northwest Arkansas today has expanded further south. There's some reason to believe that there could be some pretty big thunderstorms out in western Arkansas as soon as late this afternoon. More likely tonight, moving into central Arkansas after midnight. Low risk for severe weather, but it's there. Then we get another round potentially Wednesday, late morning to the early afternoon. Wherever that boundary sets up, that's where it'd be the strongest, and with heavy rain and southward. That moves through, and now it's showing another wave coming in late tomorrow, further south. But the further south that boundary goes, just remember this, the further south it goes, behind it, to the north of that boundary, the severe weather threat is not all that great. It's not completely zero, but it lessens, and it's more of a flash flooding threat. When does this pattern end? Great question. I know that's what you're asking. There's some hope the beginning of next week. I don't think the clusters will be as numerous as they are going to be for the next 2 or 3 days, but they may get spread out a little bit more over the weekend. So a lot to follow. This late May pattern, we identified this a little more than a week ago, that it would get very active. And here we are. And we want to thank you very much for trusting us. Download the Arkansas Storm Team app. Thank you so much for trusting us here at KARK. And we will do our absolute best to keep you informed with the most information. And thank you always for your trust.